What happens is Jesus is sitting down in the temple courts. This is John chapter 8. When a rabbi taught, they sat down. So there's lots of people that are listening in. And as he's sitting down, some men bring a woman who they've caught in adultery. So they've caught this woman in the act. I've asked for a volunteer, God bless her, to represent this woman caught in adultery. Now, some say that the woman would have been naked. For purposes of illustration, I didn't think that was suitable today. So some say they probably put some kind of sheet around her to cover her. But this woman, John 8, was actually caught by some men who'd clearly been watching in the window while she's in the act of an adulterous relationship. At least 3 men. Would the 3 men please come? And these 3 men, I say, why at least 3 men? Because it has to be established out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses if it's going to be that we've caught her. And they've got their stones ready and they're enjoying this far too much. And so they come to Jesus, different age groups. Bible tells us that in John 8. And they bring this woman out and they're trying to trap Jesus. I'm playing Jesus, okay? And they say to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The Lord of Moses. Now, as soon as you bring out Moses, this is the trump card. This is the one who got the law. This is the lawgiver. Moses' law says if we catch a woman in the act of adultery, she has to be stoned to death. And they say to Jesus, that's what the law says. What do you say? Now, this is a trap for Jesus. All the people are watching on, because if Jesus says, stone her, well, he's as vicious and hard-hearted as them. Get rid of this woman. But if he says, let her go, then he's refusing to acknowledge the law of Moses. So either way, they've got him. So Jesus kneels down, and it says he starts to write in the dirt. Oh, I love the commentaries to tell us what they think he might have been writing. Some say he might have been writing the 10 Commandments. 1, 2. Some say he was writing, maybe in the dirt, the sins of the guys looking on. Jacob looked far too long at this adulterous relationship going on through the window. Some say, because it's what they did in Roman times, that the judge used to write out the verdict first. Some say he was writing out the verdict before he then stood up to give the edict. Steve Campbell says, I think he was writing Jesus was here. I know I'm the most shallow of all the ones I just mentioned, but that's what Steve Campbell thinks. Jesus was here, okay, exclamation mark, smiley face. That's what I'd have written, wouldn't you? No, okay, clearly not. We don't know what he was writing. But then he stands up, and this is what he says to them effectively. Go on, stone her. But one condition. Let the one who's never fallen throw the first stone. Now, let me just stop there for a moment. Give me one of your stones. Why is the church so good at throwing stones? I realize in my life I've been a great stone thrower. Oh, they're nice shiny stones, but they're still stones. I'm going to read to you a passage from a book by John Ortberg, and it really struck me as I read it. Let me read it to you. He said, I think of a church, he writes, I was part of many years ago where many people, not all, but too many, were just cold. They didn't dance, they didn't laugh, they had little capacity for joy. But there's one thing they enjoyed, and I related to this. Passing judgment on the spiritual inferiority of others. Some of these kids were a little wild. Pick up a stone. Somebody's marriage wasn't working. Another stone. The music pastor chose the wrong kind of song or played it too loudly. Another stone. Somebody crossed a line, violated a code, had a problem, word spread. People picked up stones. The truth is, though they would never admit it, it energized them. Gathering stones, they looked forward to it. Then he tells this story. Some time ago, I worked at a Baptist church that had a sudden large influx of unchurched people. Oh, please, God. They sometimes preferred music and language and living arrangements and beverages that came up as an unpleasant shock to folks who'd been around the church all their lives. So we brought in an expert, a New Testament professor known as Dr. B, to talk about community and grace. A stone thrower at the back complained to Dr. B about how she did not approve much of these newcomers and complained, shouldn't they clean up their act before they come to church? Dr. B can get quite passionate about this subject, and he did. If you want to go to church where such people are not welcome and never darken the door, he said, you will find many such churches in any city. You may attend there if you wish. But who will welcome those who are far from church? What about, and here Dr. B off the top of his head whipped off a long string of adjectives I can only partly remember. He said, what about chain smoking, adult channel watching, Playboy reading, whiskey guzzling, wife swapping, tax cheating, child neglecting, SOBs? There was a long pause. People were not expecting that term from a New Testament professor. Then out of the silence, one of the deacons in the back asked, you mean Sons of Baptists? SOBs. And Maltberg asks, who will welcome the Sons of Baptists?
If you enjoyed this video today, why don't you click subscribe and click on that notification bell to get a notification the next time we upload a video. And if you're new or you've been coming to the C3 Church for a little while now, why don't you find out what your next step might be in the journey of faith? Click on the next step link in the description below to find out what your next step in your journey might be.